All right, Michael, you ready? Okay. All right, everyone, if we get started. We can all rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated, relax. We have coffee in the back. Welcome, everyone, to the October meeting of the Village Civic Association. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. It's one of the, I'm always getting yelled at. Am I standing in the right spot? You got to put footprints on the floor. Just don't move. We have Zoom people at home. Tend to wander around. This is a meeting that we usually get a pretty big turnout because how many times you get an opportunity to actually meet the candidates. So we always enjoy doing this format here. I want to remind everybody this isn't a debate format. This is meet the candidates night. Okay. So if you've ever been to one of these run by the Village Civic Association, our long tradition has been, let's hear from the candidates, let them tell us about themselves, their vision, their policy ideas, and that's what it's about. It's not gotcha, overly political, all right? We're in a neutral setting. We want to hear from the candidates and speak about something. So that's the format for tonight, just so we're all on the same page. Tonight, we're very lucky to have the most sought after moderator on Long Island. I think I can say that safely. This gentleman right here. I don't know if this is your first time watching her moderate Meet the Candidates Night or retreat. It's always a pleasure, and we appreciate him doing it. So we only have one office, the Suffolk County Legislator tonight, but I think we have plenty of time, so we're going to be able to ask some questions we took from all of you, some questions we have from the Civic, and I'm hoping we really get an idea of who the candidates are and what they think about the position and the policies and the future. I do have to give the quick pitch because I get yelled at by my board. I hate pitching for doing this, but please join the Village Civic Association. Just to give you a sampling of some of our expenses, we run on a very, very lean budget. Today, I renewed our post office box. I don't know how many people have a post office box. $248, folks. So it's only $15 to join. We're looking at possibly an increase next year. We haven't raised the dues in many, many years. The only other thing that we do with the money is if we need a piece of equipment, provide refreshments, we do the scholarship for the Ward Melville Senior. So we run very lean. We appreciate your support. Please join. It's good to have everybody on the roster. If there is something big going on, we'll be able to reach out to you and keep everybody engaged. So it's just a good overall thing. I think you know the mission. We're out here trying to make sure everybody's engaged and knows the issues in our community. So that's my pitch for tonight. Please join 3bcivic.org, 3bcivic.org. You can join online. We are our technical expert. Michael made it very simple. You can just click on that. So we really appreciate your support. So let's get started because we want to hear everything the candidates have to say. So the two candidates with mine coming up, sitting here, Steve Englebright, and I'm going to get it right, Laura Andres. I'll turn it over to her. I'll moderate.
And again, I came completely prepared, as you can see, not only with the fancy signs, but because my placard stands I left behind, I had to innovate with paper plates. So we are running on the hall. We are.
Please help us.
And I can't embarrass myself because Gretchen's in the background and she's a former teacher and she's grading me on so many different aspects. Again, we hope to have a friendly discussion on a number of different issues that impact you in the community and hopefully enlighten you as to both of the candidates' ideas so that you can make an educated decision when it comes to going to the polls. We try to shield out those individuals and questions that are the gotchas and make it so that it is an informative evening in every way. So with that, I will ask each of the candidates to, and they can either stand or they can sit, to discuss who they are, a little bit about their background, and why they're running for this position. So, and I'll go back and forth between the two different candidates as well throughout the evening as we do the questions, to keep it kind of on an even scale. With this first introduction, let's make it 3 or 4 minutes. If you go over, I will use, everybody's kind of waiting for it. I have the battery somewhere. Oh yeah, I do have it. And I just give you a little.
Nobody remembers where that came from.
Yeah, oh, you know, because we don't have money for a gavel. So we bring a battery. So if you hear the battery tapping, it's time to move on. So if you don't mind, I'll use first names. Steve, if you would do your introduction for 3 or 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to see all of you here. My name is Steve Englebright. I know many of you, but for those who don't, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a geologist by training, and I've been involved in various civic activities and various events and issues for about 40 years. Most of those relate one way or the other to public health, public safety, and the quality of life of the community. I'm associated with the university. I teach in sustainability studies and was the curator of geology for 46 years. I was in the assembly for a little over 30 years. And this is my second tour of duty in the Suffolk County Legislature. I served beginning in 1984 for 9.5 years before going to the Assembly. My reason for running, I care about what happens to this county. I care about what happens to this community. I think I can make a difference. I would ask that you look at my record. It's the strongest record on the environment, I believe, anywhere in the state. There are very few elected scientists in the state. I'm one of them, maybe the only one on Long Island. I think I bring specialized capability to the job, and I'm mostly interested in using that to protect our public health by protecting drinking water, protecting our harbor, protecting the air, land, and water that we all depend upon. Be happy to answer questions and go into it in more detail if you like, but that's a brief sketch. Again, Steve Englebright, if you get a chance, take a look at my record. If you like what you see, please consider me when you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura, the same question, a little bit about you, a little bit of your background, and what motivated you to run this year.
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me here. First of all, I'm Laura Andrus. I want to thank the Civic for having us, and I want to convey that I understand that the Civic really knows what's going on in each neighborhood. You're the ones who have the finger on the pulse, and so I appreciate that. Professionally, I'm an attorney. I am a small business owner because our firm has 13 to 15 employees. We represent condo co-op and HOA boards, and that is anywhere from drafting all their contracts, dealing with their bylaws, dealing with their elections, neighbor on neighbor disputes, board member on board member disputes. So it's really like representing little cities. All of these communities have very small budgets, and they have to care about their infrastructure and their roofs and all of their needs on very small budgets, and with communities that, of course, don't want their fees to be raised. So that's one of the reasons why I thought that this would be a good fit for me when I was asked if I would run. Personally, I'm married to my husband, Matt. We have 7 children together. My husband is a retired police officer, also a veteran of 2 branches of the military, the Marines and the Navy. We have all 4 of our sons have served in the United States Air Force. One is still serving. We have a Earth and Space Science teacher, an operating engineer, and one of our children work for BOCES, and we have a couple who are still in school. They're, range from 24 to 31 years old. And one of the reasons why I decided to run was I'm very worried about affordability. Not one of our children right now can afford to buy a house in Three Village yet. And I'm also worried about the different state mandates that are going to be coming down and how we're going to address them. I did work with both Dan Panico and Ed Romaine at the Suffolk County Clerk's Office for many years. In that part of my life, I supervised 130 employees, and I learned what it was like to really deliver the service that people need. Sometimes people would come very, worried. It's their deed, it's their property, and they needed help. I ran all the departments. I trained all the people. I hired all the employees when I was there. So I have a really good feeling for what people need. I'm very involved in the community. I'm sorry, I'm talking fast. I only have 4 minutes, but I'm very involved in the community. I've been a Rotarian for about 15 years. Rotary is all about eliminating polio, which it's almost there, bringing clean water and literacy to the rest of the world. Okay, 1 more minute. I look forward to your questions, but I also want to hear from you what you want to see from your legislator. That's important. I'm not a politician. I've never done this before, and I want to hear what you're looking for. I've been out knocking on doors. I'm up to I don't know, 1,700 doors at this point, asking people what they're concerned about, and I have my notes here. And I'm here to work for you, and I like to work and serve. So if you take anything back, if you think of that.
Thank you. Steve, I'm going to go with the first question to you, and then we'll rotate back and forth. The question that I have is in regards to the Suffolk County Police Department. The most dangerous activity that we all engage in every day is we drive. And in the process, we are confronted every day, and you'll see this is the most common complaint that we have: speeding, erratic driving, passing on double lines, people acting on the roadways in disregard to the law. It also seems that the North Shore community here gets very little attention from the police department insofar as the enforcement of the law. How do you address this problem that is a societal problem, but it's also tied to enforcement?
Well, the very first thing you have to do is have enough police assigned to the community to oversee the traffic and to make examples, really, quite frankly, out of individuals who are flouting the law. With that in mind, I should point out that I'm on the Public Safety Committee of the County Legislature. I am a strong supporter of increasing the number of police that we have. And most particularly, I think we should have some more here. I am concerned that, we really have a very competitive situation where the demand for police exceeds really the number of qualified people available to fill the position. So I think it's important that we maintain adequate salary for the police so that they are incentivized to have a new class of officers coming in and going through the training that is necessary to do the job. Attracting and holding in place for careers, the police is the challenge that is facing the department today. We have supported the police. I supported the increase in their salary this year. I did that because of the reasons I just mentioned, to keep competitive and to do everything possible to fill the positions that are necessary to keep our streets safe.
Thank you. Laura, the same question. Let me just get this set up here. The same question regarding the problems that we have on the roadways today. These are 3 minutes.
So as I said, my husband's a retired police officer and so is my father. Police, it comes down to morale and appreciation. And they need to know that when they arrest people or they give violations out, that they're enforced and that they're not just disregarded. So that's number one. I think that there's a huge deterrent. None of my sons want to be police officers because they see how police officers have been being treated lately. And so that's upsetting to them. But I do think that things are improving. And so we have to just keep encouraging them. One of the ways that we can address the speeding is, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Wireless Road. It was a large road. People were speeding up and down it like crazy. We put in some medians. It made it safer. People have slowed down. I would hope that the part of 347 that's going to be finalized someday will include some sort of those measures, because I know I drive to Smithtown every day by 347, and we were just talking about this today in our Newsday interview, Steve and I, that there's people going 20 and there's people going 90 on 347. There has to be something. And even those machines that tell you how fast you're going just seem to work. So I think we have to ask the police for at least more measures that they can deliver to us.
Thank you. And Laura, I'm going to go to you with the next question. And this is in regards to Child Protective Services inside of the county. If you remember the Thomas Valva case, which I believe was just settled as a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the county because of the failure to protect children by the social services. Do you think the conditions of social service in the county have improved, or is there much more work to be done?
I do believe they've improved, but there is a lot further for us to go. When you talk about people attracting people to jobs, I think it's harder to attract somebody to be a civil servant in social services than even police, because they don't get paid anywhere near what the police get paid. They're overworked and they're burdened with pretty much what the police see. Very horrible conditions on children. And as an attorney, I have seen many instances where social services come in and they're so overburdened. If there's food in the refrigerator and there's electric and heat in the house, they leave the children in the condition, and it's deplorable. So I would really want to be very cognizant of how hard they work, and yet we need to give them more tools and more employees. So yes, I would push for more employees. We need more civil servants, and we need to attract them to these jobs.
Thank you. And Steve, the same question in regards to the condition or the status that you feel Child Protective Service and the welfare of our children are being addressed by the county.
Well, I think there's room for improvement. Obviously, we've had some problems, but I have to say there is a sense of mission within the department. I think that there is strong support within the legislature, including myself. I should also point out that the union that represents the workers within the Child Protective Services area have endorsed me. So they sense that I am going to be a supporting individual from the legislature, and I'm not alone. A majority of my colleagues in the legislature, I believe, are going to support the budget. The budget this year will, if approved, will go up 5.2%. It has a substantial portion of that is dedicated for social services, including Child Protective Services. I haven't seen the details of the budget yet. I can tell you generally, though, that there is funding in there adequate to maintain the staffing within that department and to increase it slightly. We're going to have hearings starting on the 20th of this month. I'll learn more, but in the meantime, I'm hopeful that we can add some personnel to the department.
Thank you. I'm going to move right to you, Steve, on this next one.
Sure.
I'm going to get it out of the way because everybody wanted to ask it. I got it on the cards. Man, I'll get it out. Stay though, even after I ask this question. Don't leave. I know.
Let me guess.
Fix the dam. It's 14 months ago, the storm destroyed the Stony Brook Dam. And it's still not rebuilt. I'm not asking for an immediate solution, but I'm gonna ask you and Laura, what's your perspective on this disaster and the continuing disaster now at this time, 14 months later?
We could spend the rest of the evening. It's a complicated topic.
Only 3 minutes.
Only 3 minutes. You know, on August 19th of last year, we had a torrential rainstorm. It came across in the middle of the summer as if it were a nor'easter. It came out of Connecticut, where it killed 3 people and washed out 27 roads. And it slammed into our community and sent torrents of water down all of our arterials. That water, when it went into the mill pond in Stony Brook, overtopped the dam. The dam did not burst from having too much water behind it. That's not what happened. It overtopped the dam at the lowest part of the inclined road that was atop the dam. And where it went over, it created a waterfall that plunged. It eroded the sand at the base of the dam. That side of the dam should have been armored. If it had been armored, the water would have bounced off. How do I know? Because at the Frank Melville Park, that's the design. And it didn't burst and it didn't break. Why? Because it had a concrete spillway and the seaward side deflected the water. We should do a reconstruction of that portion of the dam that's been broken. We should copy closely the design that's in the Frank Melville Park dam that did not break, and we should get with it. Too much time has gone by.
Thank you. Laura, same question in regards to your perspective on the dam.
So from a legal perspective, I think everybody understands the point that the FEMA application has to be made by the owner of the property at the time of the destruction. That has not happened. In my business, when you have a lawsuit or you have parties who can't agree, you put them in a room and you push them to settle and to discuss over and over and over again until it's done. You do everything you can, all sorts of pressure. We have the group that's put up the signs. There's another rally this Saturday. The pressure has to remain. One of the things that was a little upsetting to me was that the Ward Melville Heritage Organization had a summer soiree while the bridge was still not fixed. Now, I understand what they were saying. I went to the head of the harbor meeting before they commenced the lawsuit. I heard everything that the organization had to say. And it really was just, again, how it happened, some ideas about what to happen. We have to get it fixed. We're not a third world country. This is embarrassing. So that will be a top priority for me, even though it's not the county's business. It's not county land, but we have to pressure everybody that we can to address it. We have to keep the pressure on the town, keep the pressure on the organization, give solutions. There's a lot of different ways that this can be fixed. I really don't understand why it hasn't, but I think we just need a little bit more effort and maybe new people pushing.
Thank you. Laura, I'm going to go to you right away now. We live in a divided political world, they tell me. Are you a proven team builder and a collaborator? Can you give a specific example of your ability to bring diverse groups and people together?
I have so many examples of that. So first of all, we're all neighbors. This is county politics. It's all about bringing the most money and the best programs into our district. and working with the other legislators and the county exec. There's no reason for us to be arguing with each other. Anything that's going to happen in the community should be approved by the community. That's how I work. I'll give my favorite example. I am also a commercial and residential real estate attorney, other than representing the condo and co-op board. I had a client who I was her fourth attorney. The seller would not close. It was over a year past the contract date. I called up the other attorney and I said, hey, what's going on? Do I need to commence a lawsuit? He knew my reputation. He knew that I knew what I was talking about. He said, no. We finally came to an agreement 2 days later. We're sitting at the closing table. However, the night before, my client calls me and says, that contract says I can bring $1,000 in cash, and I'm bringing $1,000 in quarters tomorrow. And I said, okay, because I mean, we're so close to not closing, and I just wanted her to close. I get to the closing. She slams the quarters on the table. She's fighting with the attorney. He's fighting. They almost had a fist fight. I took out my checkbook. I wrote $1,000 and I said, I'll take the quarters. So, you know, there's always a solution. And I don't have to be the hero, but I have to be the person who tries to convince each side we're all human beings. We can all work together. There's always a solution. There's no need for animosity. So, that's why I also appreciate the venue tonight, and because I explained to our moderator when I went to another meet the candidate night, not where I was the candidate, and they were fighting and screaming. I said, that's you don't get anywhere with that. So thank you.
That's why I got the battery. Steve, the same question is regarding a political world in which we're divided. Do you think that you're a team builder and collaborator? And can you give an example of that?
I am. I have been in both a minority in the county legislature and in the majority at the state legislature. And I always treat the issues in a nonpartisan way. And I reach across the aisle and try to work with anybody who work with me. I'll give you a good example, give you a lot of examples if we have time, but I'll give you a good example. In the village of Head of the Harbor, Deep Wells. Deep Wells was on the market. It was ready to be sold. The county legislator in Smithtown at that time was Mike DeAndre. Mike and I co-chaired the committee on parks within the county at the time. And I went over to Mike's house. He showed me his garden. He had beautiful flowers in his garden. And we talked and we worked out an arrangement by which we knew we didn't have everybody's vote, but we worked together to count noses to see if we could put the votes together. Maxine Postal was the final vote. Maxine Postal, now deceased, was later the presiding officer of the legislature and a Democrat. And I appealed to Max to provide the vote that enabled us to acquire that National Register of Historic Places site, which is directly across the street from another place that we did a similar kind of arrangement. I worked again with DeAndre to acquire the St. James General Store, also on the National Register of Historic Places, and an indelible part of the historic heritage of the North Shore. Why? Because these are not just monuments to history, they are part of what drives our largest industry, which is tourism. Tourism that puts heads on beds and puts people into our restaurants, and the money that is brought in through tourism is a celebration of our history, yes, but it's also a reinforcement of our local economy. So preserving these buildings, and I could go on, but I've been working across the aisle for many, many years to preserve our heritage and to utilize that to drive our economy.
Thank you. Steve, I'm going to go back to you on this question. I want you to consider if there was additional resources, an infusion of money that came into the county, what programs or departments would you recommend receiving that funding?
Within the county, we have a couple of departments or institutions that I refer to as institutions of optimism. A lot of what the county does is not overly optimistic. We have mentioned Child Protective Services, we have a family court, we have social services, we have a lot of people who are desperate. That's important that the county address that. But we also have what I refer to as institutions of optimism. The Suffolk County Community College. That's an institution where we invest into the next generation and for anyone who wants to improve themselves for the market. And we have the county parks. And we have the county's first park, which is the county museum at the Suffolk County Vanderbilt Museum. These have great potential. Right now, we have 62,000 acres of parkland in the county. We use it. That's from a lot of work that I put in when I was first in the legislature to change the narrative with respect to development and overdevelopment and to protect drinking water. So when I started, we only had about 8,000 acres. Now we're at 62. We're second only to Los Angeles County nationwide, and we're catching up. Why do I say that? Because there's nobody in the Department of Parks presently who would be a curator for those unique natural areas. They represent our natural history heritage as well as the protection of our drinking water. And similarly, we don't have anybody to replace Richard Martin, who's the sole curator for the 200 buildings that are within those 62,000 acres, many of which, if properly interpreted and advertised, would bring more people to Long Island to reinforce our local economy and bring more revenue to our Main Street and our county. We need personnel. I would like to see, for example, a curator hired for each of those, for the historic collection and the natural historic collection at the county museum. I'd like to see the county museum curators with dual appointments with the School of Oceanographic and Atmospheric Sciences at SUNY at Stony Brook and with the Suffolk County Community College. They do it at the American Museum of Natural History with Columbia. We should do it here. And it wouldn't cost a lot to do that. It's something I'm dedicated to advancing, but if we had the money to do it, I would do it immediately. And the product that would come from that would be a greater sense of place, a greater sense of purpose for all of the young people that are graduating from our high schools. They would have a greater sense of how they fit into the historic narrative and how important they really are.
Thank you. Laura, the same question in regards to if there were an infusion of money, where would you see that money go? To what program or department or service?
I would like to give it back to the people who need it the most. I would try and use it to subsidize some of the rising utility bills. Many people aren't able to afford their electric bill, their heating bill, their cooling bill, because now it gets very hot. So if it was enough money to give the money back to the people, I would rather give it back. We are in a pretty good district here and a pretty good county, but we do have people that have needs. And so that's where I would give the money to.
Thank you. Laura, I'm going to give you the next question. And bear with me on this one. New York State passed one of the most ambitious laws to deal with climate change called the Climate Leadership and Communities Protection Act. Do you support New York's plan to eliminate carbon emissions in power plants and vehicles? And how important is it for the county to reduce its carbon emissions and transition to renewable energy? What steps do you think that county should take to help meet the climate goals established by the state?
So we have to work towards renewable energy, but I think we need more than one source of energy. That act just here at this Civic, the Civic expressed their worry about how are we going to afford the EV buses alone for our school districts. From what I'm reading, each school district is going to have to spend $15 to $20 million to put in charging stations, and we can't even support those. So we need to move towards greener energy, but we can't have it bankrupt us. So we have to be a little bit more moderate. I think that the CLCPA is a little bit too aggressive. We need to take it a little bit slower because we're not going to be able to afford the mandates there. And a particular pet peeve of mine is I like my gas stove. I like to choose what kind of fuel source I like to use, and I really don't want to be told that I can't have gas at my house. One of the reasons why I love my neighborhood is because we have gas. So that's one of the biggest concerns that I have, not only about my children being able to afford it, but me being able to afford to live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, the same question in regards to the county's role in reducing carbon emissions and steps to go and move in that direction. Your perspective.
Well, first, I just want to say that I have been a pioneer for renewable energy from the very first that I've been in elected office. I am the sponsor of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. I'm the prime sponsor. We passed it 4 times in the Assembly before the Senate finally passed the bill, and before we had an opportunity to set the goals in place that bill calls for. And if you don't think that's something that is an imperative, just reflect for a moment on that freak storm. It's not the only freak storm. We're seeing an overheated ocean because the atmosphere is too full of carbon dioxide from the burning of fossil fuels. New York needs to do something about that. When I was in the Assembly, I was the prime sponsor of the Solar Choice Act, the Solar Net Metering Act. I pretty much helped launch the solar revolution in the state. I was the prime sponsor of the legislation, now law, that made every customer class eligible for net metering. These are incentives. I'm also prime sponsor of the Wind Net Metering Act. A diversity of sources of energy is what makes sense. I could go on, but let me just say what the county can do. It should be setting the example. Sadly, if you go onto the university campus, there's no solar on any of the buildings. That's outrageous. The state should be setting an example. And yes, we should hit the targets of 75% reduction in CO2 emissions by 2030 and 100% reduction by 2050. Everything is at stake. Everything. We're on an island, for goodness sakes. Melt the glaciers by overheating the ocean, and there will be 25 to 40 feet increase in sea level. The southern half of this island will be underwater. That's a concern. So there is a consensus among scientists that this is a meaningful problem. I believe that I've been trying to address it. I think we should do more, and I think the county should be setting the example by utilizing its flat roofs and its parking spaces to put solar in place and to work with community organizations such as civic associations to create community solar, so that it isn't just an individual house by house go it alone situation.
Thank you. Similar to, I'm going to address this, Steve. Sorry. All right. The timer. Steve, I'm tired of driving to Ronkonkoma to take the train into the city. How do we get the Port Jeff line to be electrified?
The electrification of the Port Jeff line fits into the same imperative, I believe. We have diesels running the north line of the railroad. That is not very helpful, to say the least. It's contrary to the goals of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. So I have, for many years, pushed for bringing the train station that is in Port Jefferson Station slightly westward by about 1/4 of a mile, locating it on property that has come to the county through tax default, the Lawrence Aviation property, tax defaulted. And we have the ability to do something that the present train yard doesn't provide for, which is a place to have a turnaround for the trains. We could do that on the property that is part of the Lawrence Aviation tax defaulted property and still have room left over. The county planning department has brought forward, through my strong encouragement over many years, has come forward with a plan. I think the plan is worthy, and a lot of people are on board with it now, including Rebecca Cassay, who put money up this year for $10 to pay for the transfer of the land, to pay the county for the land. So now we just have to have the MTA follow through. The electrification should follow, and it should follow quickly.
Thank you. Laura, the same question in regards to the electrification of the Port Jeff line.
So we've been promised that for over 20 years now, I think. And I don't really see it coming. And the research that I did, it looks like the cost is going to be too high, and the MTA just wants us to be their piggy bank over and over and over again, and they want to use it on projects that don't include us. And all we can do is try to fight back, but all of our money goes up to the state and to the city and to other places. And I say all, I'm being dramatic, but we have to maybe have some different solutions. Different people need to come in and start fighting for us, because it's going on for too long. So that's my perspective.
Thank you. Laura, I'd like to ask you this question. Object lesson. No, I just want to see if you were paying attention. Doug, I appreciate you being here. I didn't say hello, but hello. There's probably no issue this year that received more attention than battery storage in our community. The pros and cons that were involved in that regard really brought everybody out and stimulated a tremendous amount of discussion. The Civic Association held a number of forums on the topic too. Can you talk about your perspective as to the controversies about battery storage?
As we all know, we only have one aquifer. We have Long Island has our water aquifer, and we've already poisoned it with Lawrence Aviation and with the dump. And I don't know that our community wants to risk more pollution and also risk what they say can happen with these battery stations. It's really going to come down to what we learn about it and what the community wants. I'm going to fight for what the community wants. It doesn't matter what I want, but everyone I talk to so far isn't for it. And it may be a necessity in some senses, but I don't know if it's worth the risk. And I have to do, of course, a lot more research into it to know, but that's what I do. I do research, and when it comes time to, if I'm the one to make the decision, I'll give you, which is my MO, too much information. You'll have more information than you'll ever want. So that's my perspective, but it seems scary, and maybe soon, from what I'm told, the batteries won't be as dangerous as they are now.
Thank you. Steve, the same question in regards to battery storage in our community.
I think that the proposal that's been put forward needs some work before there's anything that looks like an approval. The offshore wind that had been planned has been more than cut in more than half this year in terms of anticipated approvals. So I think there will be a pause. There should be a pause because
Thursday.
the
I'll put it
offshore
in the
wind
calendar.
that was planned is not going to be trying to store that energy in batteries because they're not going to build those windmills. So let me just say there are a number of issues in terms of how the battery storage should be arrayed. We've had some terrible incidents, most particularly in California, where we really should take some caution regarding the installation of batteries that are, if one battery array goes bad, that it sets off all the other ones. So I don't think we're ready at this time to give any approvals. Let me also just say, we have a checkerboard of zoning in the boundary of the 3 school districts of Conswag and Port Jefferson and Free Village, which is the area that in the 1940s and 50s was zoned industrial. Now we have whole housing communities that are in that same immediate area, and so we have neighborhoods instead of an area that is zoned just for industry. And the applications don't take that into, the ones that are still pending presently before the town don't take that into account. So I'm very cautious about allowing or encouraging battery storage to go into areas which are adjacent to where people live. And I would oppose anything that might be harmful to the people in those communities, because those are the people of our community.
Thank you. Steve, I want to give you this question. It might not be on the top of everybody's radar, but it's something that occurs over and over again, where we see the industrial development agencies, the IDAs, give substantial multi-year tax exemptions to developers and corporations, only sometimes not to fulfill their obligations and to leave the taxpayers, school officials, and good government advocates on the hook. Do IDAs in New York State cause you any concern?
Who are you asking first?
Steve.
Yeah, darn right they cause me some concern. IDAs have been a source of scandal and abuse for years, and it fairly calls for reform and increased oversight. The IDAs are indeed the backdoor for mischief, and they deserve a thorough rewrite of the enabling legislation.
Thank you. Laura, your opinion?
So the IDAs can be a really good tool, but as Steve said, possibly it hasn't had, they haven't had the proper oversight. So I looked into the IDAs other than my experience with them as a real estate attorney. I've been involved with them with clients who were creating manufacturing jobs and did go through the whole IDA process and received their tax benefits over the years and then started paying when those benefits ran out. And, you know, we have to make sure the benefit outweighs the burden. So we have to make sure that the tax breaks that they get come back to us in the jobs and in the, you know, economy. We need to boost that through these. It has to be a real, you know what I'm saying? it has to show real results, okay? So one of the issues that I see, which you touched on, is we need stronger clawback provisions. So if they didn't fulfill all of the promises that they made, if they didn't hire all the employees that they were supposed to do, if they didn't manufacture all things that would benefit our county, they have to pay those taxes back. And we have to really make sure of that. So, and it should really only be for industries that need it. Sometimes very smart lawyers know how to get money from the IDA for industries that don't really need it. But I think that they've turned a little bit on that. They have a standard that you have to prove that you couldn't buy the property without the tax exemption, but that's where we are. Really focused on the clawback. Let's get the money back if they don't give us results.
Thank you. Laura, the next question to you is, I know complex, stifling, stymieing, but one that everyone is concerned about, especially with young people. We are faced with an affordable housing crisis, rising rents, housing prices pushing our residents out of our communities, especially our young people. What policies or ideas can you bring to address housing affordability and increase access to affordable housing?
So some of the ideas I had, when I looked into them, I found that, well, they weren't, I wasn't capable of doing them. I had an idea of maybe having a reverse 55 and over, that it was for younger people, and then as they got older, they would have to move out and give it to somebody younger. So that doesn't really work, but I think some veterans housing, veterans like to live together, and having some grants that help that. Also, possibly encouraging the college to maybe build some housing there so that the students have affordable housing to live there. And again, I don't like the word affordable housing. I like housing affordability, because it's got a bad connotation that it's going to be a big tenement building or something like that. And really just planning. We have to plan out what our neighborhoods are going to look like. We're not going to put mixed use commercial space with apartments over it in the middle of Setauket. We'll do it more in the Upper Port Jeff Station area that's planned, and have apartments. And I'd like to have incentives for these developers that say, you know, we'll agree to you developing, but you have to contribute to our infrastructure, and maybe have a sliding scale for your rents, and, you know, not just 1 or 2 units. You know, I want to see a bigger project, and I want to see more, because our kids they can't afford to live there. They can't afford the rent. And that goes back to the ADUs, the accessory dwelling units. It can be done in a smart way, and in a way that it could look very nice. But a lot of people are doing it, and it's illegal and it's dangerous, especially with all the college students. So I think we have to put the pressure on the college to start providing enough housing that these students can afford. Otherwise, you know, there's 5 or 6 kids living in a house or in a garage, and it's not good.
Thank you. Steve, the same question. What can be done about the affordable housing crisis?
So I put forward a plan to put housing above the 1-story stores in Setauket. I don't think that we should say that it's okay to do that for Port Jefferson Station, but it's not okay to have that in Setauket. Just, I find that to be a little exclusionary. Quite frankly, Setauket needs it. And how do I know that? Because we had, when I put forward my plan some years ago, which had elegant architecture to make it something that people would love to have here, to a standing room only audience at the Jolinas Junior High School, there was not one dissent in the audience. And people clamored for this to happen. It still hasn't happened. I'd like to see that, and I'll tell you, suburbia was invented on Long Island at Levittown after World War II, but the vision of what suburbia should look like apparently did not include the concept that people might age. It did not include the concept that perhaps we should have a complete cradle to grave view of the needs for housing. And that, in fact, building housing only for young couples with the women of childbearing age was short of really answering the need. I'd like to see a more complete picture. I think that we should not alter our residential neighborhoods, but there are one-story stores that very beautiful apartments could be built above. So I really favor that mixed use. I also favor the integration of young people with old people. I don't think we should just be building apartments to store old folks. I think we shouldn't anticipate that we're only going to have affordable housing just for young folks. The magic is when you bring intergenerational conversation into the living space. And the elders who right now are taking their pensions and going to Florida and leaving, these are the pioneers of suburbia, and leaving behind all that they've contributed here. We should try to keep them here because they are us.
Thank you. Steve, I'm going to go to you. A couple more questions or ideas. I know this has been a very good audience. I want everybody to give yourself a round of applause right now. No, you're really good. You're really good. I'm always used to some people yelling at me, throwing things. You've been pretty good. Steve, back to work here. Civic organizations are considered an important part of the community, and they're the voice of the people. I think Laura said that too. Do you have a history of partnership with local civic organizations and service organizations in the district? And how will you grow your relationship with the Civic Association and its leaders?
I have a very strong and indelible relationship with civic organizations. I think that you are indeed the people's voice and the people's pulse. I attend as many civic meetings as possible just to listen, just to learn, because this is the crucible, this is the forum, this is the place that is essentially a seminar on what our communities should look like and how our quality of life can be maintained. I could give you many examples. I have sent money to some of the civic organizations in the past for Harbor Day, for example. To the extent that I can, I will always be supportive of the premise that the forum that we're in this evening is the purest form of democracy.
Thank you. Laura, the same question in regards to civic associations, how you'll grow your relationship with them.
Just one comment on the
Sure.
building quick. I'm really surprised about the mixed use in other areas because a couple of things. I've heard many people say they don't want it, and if they did, I know developers would do it tomorrow. And so if the community was for it, I know that developers would do it, and I'm for anything that the community wants. It's up to you. So I am mostly involved in the community through my church. I do, I'm an extraordinary minister. I do community service at the assisted living. I do the bereavement service, which is a ministry. I help people plan their funerals. And I'm involved with the civics to the point that I watch and I listen. Of course, if I'm elected, I'll be at every civic meeting and I'll have to deliver all the information I can to everybody. I've found that since I started this journey, I really like the civic meetings. They were very informative, and that's why I said this is really, the civics know what's going on and what the people want. So that's really where it all starts. So I will be very involved.
Thank you. At this point, I think I've covered most of the major questions that had come to me. We go to the lightning round. For those that are familiar with it, at every candidate forum, we do the lightning round, in which the candidates have to offer a 1-word or 3-word answer to the question that I asked. Yeah, it's like, see what we got. I don't know. It's a way of closure.
Okay.
So here we go. I'm going to go back and forth. Laura, I'm going to start with you.
Uh-oh.
My favorite band or singer?
John Denver.
Steve.
Beatles.
Steve, most inspirational leader in the past century.
Reader?
Most inspirational, hang on. Leader, sorry,
Most
leader.
inspirational leader?
The dentist.
Franklin Roosevelt.
Thank you. Most inspirational leader.
Well, I'm not going to pick an American, but that's because we're still waiting for our first American woman president. So I'm picking Margaret Thatcher because she was a really strong woman and she led a country in a time that women didn't lead countries. So that's what I'm doing.
Laura, best beach or park in the district?
I like West Meadow. I have my children go there for camp.
Okay. Steve?
West Meadow Beach.
Laura, you know, I don't want to be divisive here, but if you had to give a grade to my good friend Ed Romaine, what grade would you give him as county executive?
I would give Ed an A-,
Okay.
because
That's fine.
nobody's perfect.
Steve?
I would give it about an A- for the same reason.
Okay.
I think that's a good call.
Steve, the best time to visit Long Island is?
Right now,
Okay. Laura, best time to visit Long Island?
I like August.
Laura, finish the sentence. Red light cameras are?
Gone, hallelujah.
Steve, red light cameras are?
no longer with us.
Laura, Steve, the best movie everyone should see?
I'm not a movie guy, so.
I'm not either.
All right,
We can skip that one.
we'll skip that one. I'll go to this one. Steve, the best newspaper everyone should read every day?
The Village Times.
Laura, same question. Best newspaper everyone should read every day? This is fun, isn't it?
I get my news from online sources, so,
All right, we'll skip over that.
Yes.
Laura, my favorite museum to visit is?
there is, well, there's a few museums on Long Island that are great. I do like the Vanderbilt. It's not fancy and it doesn't have that much stuff in it, but I like all the sea life and that in it. But there is a really good museum in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
That is, I think they get a museum. It's really good.
Steve, my favorite museum is?
The American Museum of Natural History, where I used to be a volunteer.
Steve, question number 10 in the lightning round. If you were to dress up for Halloween, what would be your costume?
I would be.
These are all written down, excuse me.
I would be the straw man from The Wizard of Oz.
I'll say Dorothy.
Laura? Dorothy? All right. I'm going to conclude with this. Thank you everyone for coming out to here. Yeah, but I covered them with all the other questions. Yeah, I infuse them in the way that I do. I'm a professional. I got paid this year twice what I got last year. Am I right?
Same with that.
Thank you, everyone, for turning out. Let's get a big round of applause for the candidates, and I'm going to turn it back to Charlie.
Yes.
Hey.
Charlie?
Thank you to the candidates. Thank you, Kurt. We really appreciate your time. George Hoffman has some announcements.
I'll be really quick. A couple things. We had our 8th annual Harbor Day last Saturday, I think it was. It was great. I don't know if you've ever attended it. It's down on Shore Road there by Suffolk Harbor. It just was an incredible, and a lot of exhibitors, touch tanks. They learned a lot about how the harbor works. There was free boat rides. One of the interesting things we found out is so many people live along the shore of the harbor, but they don't have a boat. And so doing free boat rides, people actually get to see what the land looks like from their side. So we had a really great day. One of the things the town is doing is they're doing what they call an LWRP, which is a local waterfront revitalization plan for the entire North Shore of Brookhaven. They've hired a firm to come in and to come up with guidelines on how to manage the waterfront properties. Our town has, tremendous amounts of waterfront property on both the South Shore and the North Shore. So now they're doing the North Shore part of that LWRP. I have some flyers up here. They're asking if you have an opinion, if you know the harbor, things you like, things you don't like. We're talking West Meadow Beach, Stony Brook Harbor, Suffolk Harbor, Port Jeff Harbor. Just click on it and take the town survey. It will help the planners know what the community is looking for in terms of the management plan. It could be things like, more docks, less docks, hardening of the shoreline, less commercial activity in the harbor, more boating, more fishing, whatever you think you would like to see having to do with the waterfront part of this town. One of the things, what I learned when I came up here is the history of Brookhaven starts at the waterfront. That's how the town was settled, back in 1655, they came originally to the shores. So we were always a waterfront community. So if you get a minute, if you want to take one of these posters, or you can go on the town website and then take the survey, and it helps the town do better planning. Thank you very much.
The one announcement that I would give, many of you like the Setauket to Port Jeff Station Greenway. Many of you like visiting Patriots Rock. Some of you like the improvements that have been made down at Stony Brook train station. Some of you like the iconic properties that are inside of the community. So why don't you all come to the Three Village Community Trust Gala at the Old Field Club, the major fundraising event in which everybody has the most wonderful time. Am I right, Mitt? Am I right? Doug, am I right? Gretchen, am I right? I only have 100 tickets to sell. They're on the Three Village Community Trust website. They're $75 a piece. Support your local organization because it gives you all of the benefits throughout the whole year. So come and have a good time on a Wednesday, November 12th. If you don't have a good time, this is the only organization that has 100% guarantee. We refund your money. If you come at the end and say, I didn't like it, we give you your money and send you away. Pretty good, huh? Everybody enjoys it. November 12th, Three Village Community Trust.
How many people would buy a used car from her? Right? I would. I'll be honest. I would. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If anybody has any issues they want the Civic to look into, please come see me afterwards, because it's really up to you guys to let us know if there's something maybe we're missing, we haven't heard about. So please let us know so we can look into it and help in any way we can. So I'll be hanging around here for a while. Just let me know. And thank you to everybody at home for tuning in. Thank you for attending, and we appreciate your support. Yes.
And there's a rally for the pond on October 11th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Please come.
Rally for the pond. Let's hope this does. All right. Thank you very much. Everyone get home safe. Appreciate it.